Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Galactic Cruise, which is brought to you by Kinson Key Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games generally run around 90 to 150 minutes. Hello, and welcome. Our CEO is retiring and looking for his replacement. Will you be it? At Galactic Cruise, we offer our guests something special, the comfort of a luxury cruise with the innovation of space travel. As the first company to offer extended stay space vacations, we are excited to have you working for us. As a supervisor of this company, you'll be expected to not only build these shuttles and satisfy our guests, but also to help the company thrive by enhancing our company network, inventing new technologies, and growing our workforce. We are a united company, and you'll often find that what another supervisor does will make your job easier. But let me be clear though, this is a competition. On your turn, you'll either place a worker to take 2 actions in the ever-expanding network, or launch a shuttle and send one of your workers to space as a pilot, navigating the shuttle to various destinations and days in space, where guests will reward you for all your hard work. Or you will simply recall all your earthbound workers to collect funding bonuses. Actions available to you are acquiring blueprints, constructing shuttles, attracting guests, and building development connections between locations that increase action selection throughout the game. You will also be affecting resource markets that ebb and flow with the actions of all the players. In the end, will you be the supervisor who comes out on top and becomes our new CEO of the company? Do you have what it takes? So this preview is very much an overview. If you want a detailed look of turn by turn, there's some great how to plays out there. Definitely give them a closer look. They did some nice job. But here, we're gonna give you a taste, a flavor of the game, and give you some of my first impressions here. Now yes, this is a preview, but wow, I've been super impressed with this game. Every aspect of it. It's a big Euro style game, but all the actions, everything you're doing makes so much sense and plays into the theme of creating the shuttles and getting them into space. Just so well done. And this might be the best player aid I have ever seen. Man, now I want all games to be like this. So this thing is incredible. And they play it off thematically as well as the employee handbook. And it walks you through what you're doing, what to expect. And once you get a basic look at the rules, you really can rely on this to get through the game and understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Also, there's a fair amount of iconography in the game. But of course, the employee handbook will help guide you through all that. It all becomes very intuitive too as you play. Man, I just can't say enough about this. One of the best player aids I've ever seen. Now, the board is made up of several different areas. First, we have planning and strategy. This will have agenda cards, which can be used as resources, but also have special abilities, perhaps game-changing abilities, which I love. And then you have your progress track in the middle here. The thing is, you have company goals, and every game you play could have a different set of these goals that will move up this track. And once it's filled, then the game comes to an end. You'll total up points and so forth. In the middle, we have our headquarters. This is where the worker placement, all the actions that you're going to be performing are basically here. And you put your worker and perform 2 actions based on what the groupings are. Now, I've grouped these up as they suggest in your introductory game, so they all kind of play into each other. But you could randomize this and really make the game interesting. At the bottom, we have our reputation track, and at the top, we have technology. Again, something that can be variable from game to game. And then we have manufacturing, all your ship parts, all the different nose cones and engines, as well as all the different pieces in the middle that will help keep your guests entertained. And then over on the far right, we have our marketing board, basically, where you have your representative going off on the different types of cruises that are available and trying to recruit people, basically sell tickets to them. So those are the main key areas of the board. And you know what, again, very thematic, very intuitive to what you're trying to do in the game. Now, shifting over to the player boards, these are something special for sure. Now, everything here just feels deluxe. You have your big chunky tokens and meeples, just really well done. And I like tactile experiences in game, and this definitely adds that in spades. Now, the thing here is that you have your workers, which are in their break room, basically. You have 2 basic workers, and then you also have 2 workers that are advanced, but you have to hire them. They're in lab coats, and they have different types of costs associated with them, which are on your board. Everything on your board is basically comes down to iconography, but it is very intuitive again to what you're doing in the game, and just the board in general is super thematic dramatic. And then we have our resources. Now the resources, again, like I said, you have food, oxygen, and fuel. But you'll see these tracks have the development cogs there as well. These development cogs are going to be used out on the main board to develop technologies and also make connections between the different actions. So you have options when you take one action, you might be able to use the ones adjacent to them. If your cog is there, you can use it for free. If someone else is there, then you have to pay them to use the adjacent actions. So I really like this aspect because what it does is spending those cogs, those development cogs, will actually start to free up those resources so you have more spots, more availability to gain those resources and prepare for all your launches. Now on the far left of your board, there's two main things here. First, we have the launch tower, which has 8 different tokens in it. And these tokens are going to give you bonuses through the game that will be flipped and removed as you play and do various things. So the key thing though is that one of the actions, one of the main things you can do in your turn is call a meeting, which means you're just basically pulling back your workers from the main board and bringing them back to the break room. So when you do that, you'll get a funding bonus, and those different tokens will represent that. And then next to that is our launch tower. Now, it acts kind of like a checklist. So you'll take one of your workers when you get ready to launch one of your shuttles, and you'll start at the bottom. And following along with the icons, you'll check everything off and move him up to the top of the elevator and eventually onto the shuttle to be the pilot. Again, I love this aspect because it is just so thematic to what you're doing, especially for a big Euro type game like this. I really felt like I was engaged with what I was doing and how I was affecting the operation of these shuttles. Then at the very top of the board, we have our different destinations. Now, this is kind of almost like a mini game within itself. So when the shuttle reaches its destination and you have the right type of passengers that relate to either adventurous, relaxation, or family destinations, then you're going to get bonuses, permanent bonuses in the game. Now there's all kinds of upgrade possibilities here based on the different destinations, like I said, but one of my favorites is upgrading your shuttles or your cruises. So the thing is that usually you can only have 3 cruises, 3 ships, and you can only have 3 segments, but there is an upgrade here on the Adventurous Planet section that allows you to have a segment of 4 and allows you to have up to 4 ships. So that is a very powerful upgrade. There's others as well, like with the reputation track. Usually when you spend reputation, you get to take the bonuses below, but there's an upgrade that allows you to gain the bonuses as you move up the track as well. So lots of neat permanent things, again, very powerful. And just to have that ability really adds a lot to the game. Now, the other resources that you're going to be using a fair amount of is ads and money, obviously, to do various things. And you will start the game with 1 ship. The ship will have its engine and its cockpit. I like to call it the nose cone, but the cockpit will have different iconography on it. And there are a multitude of ways to score points in this game, from in the middle of play and at the end of the game. And again, your employee handbook will guide you through all of those. But the nose cones are something to keep an eye on because they will lead you into all kinds of scoring opportunities. Like potentially for every one of your expert workers that are hired, you could get 5 extra points of victory at the end of the game, right? So lots of neat things around those nose cones or cockpits and how you would use them and how you best pick which ship to add to your fleet. Now, one of the big deciding factors about how you put together your ships is the cruise tiles. So on the marketing board, you'll see that there are these different tiles which show what type of destinations and what type of passengers you may need. Again, they're all color-coded to that adventurous, leisure, or family-oriented cruises, but you'll see these different tiles, and when you activate a cruise, or go to launch a cruise, I should say, you'll take that tile along with the passengers and add them to your ship. Now that tile goes at the very top, and it is a great way for your pilot or your worker to move along those different destinations, be it a day in space, be it at one of its destinations that you're trying to travel to. You'll move your worker along the path so you know where you are at any one time. So that is one of the things you're working towards as you're doing these different actions. Now let's take a basic look at the actions. We're not going to do a deep dive here because there's a lot going on, but I want to give you a good flavor of the things to expect. So putting your worker here means that you can take 2 of the blueprints. No cost associated, not until you build it, but you do have also the option of building as you take it for additional cost, which is all labeled along the side of those blueprints. But blueprints, again, these are the compartments, the different areas your passengers are going to enjoy during their cruise, and these blueprints will show the different types of areas that it caters to for passengers. Now, the thing is that as you connect the different pieces, you'll see compartments between them, and that's where the passengers are going to be going. So having 2 of those is not usually enough. You're going to need 3 in order to have 2 passengers on your particular shuttle that you're sending into space. So you want to put together a good cruise, a good ship for all the type of passengers you're bringing on, and you don't have to have necessarily the right exact type of passengers, but you do get all kinds of bonuses for having the proper ones for the proper cruise, right? So that's something you're after. So blueprints are great. They're just free. You take them, you pick 2 and put it near your board, getting ready to build them later perhaps. The next one here is about gaining resources, your basic resources, or add resources, spending money to do that. Then down below we have getting more ships. You're going to get the nose cone or the cockpit and the engine, and you'll see there's a bonus to be gained, and once you do, you put it in your play area and flip over the engine. Then you also have the option of building. So building those blueprints, putting them into your ships. And then we have up here where we can do these development cogs and start to place them out into areas and make connections and so forth. Of course, there'll be costs associated with that, or perhaps putting them into the different technologies. Not to forget these technologies, because they are super important. Like this one, it costs you 1 less fuel in order to launch a ship. So, you know, everyone can put their cogs here, or again, you can pay someone who has already developed that technology or that connection and use their cog in helping you out. Maybe you need that for one instance in the game or something like that. Or you might simply hire an expert worker, or you might schedule a cruise and advertise, paying advertising dollars to bring people into that cruise and basically getting ready to launch and so forth. So that's a first step to kind of preparing your ship or preparing the cruise. And then we have these agenda cards that we talked about before. Once these cards start to get taken, they will reveal bonus slots. So if you refill the slots, you'll get those bonuses, but you can also choose just to take 2 cards. So a couple different options there. And then finally, gain resources and refill silos. So you have this silo with the matching resources from your player board. You'll see that as a starting position, but you can take 3 of any one resource and fill up your board, or you can refill it, bringing one of the resources all the way to the top. And when you do so, you'll have to discard an agenda card that you have, but it will give you 5 money. So it is a great way to get extra cash when you need it the most. So that's one of the ways you fill up your resources and so forth. So those are kind of the basics around what you're doing in the game. Now, obviously there's a lot going on here, as you have to keep an eye on so many things and prepare your cruises and get ready to launch. And that's one of the fun things I have to say, is just building out those ships, getting the right type of compartments to add to the cruises with the right passengers and the right destinations. It's so interesting, and how all these work together and how you best put the ultimate cruise together. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this was just an overview of the game to give you an idea of things to expect, and I'm not a big Euro gamer, so to say, but this one really worked for me thematically, and I love how hugely thematic it is and how all the actions work together to do what you need to do to build the ships, to get the right marketing together and the right resources and money in order to do the launching, and then get some of those nice permanent upgrades when you go on those cruises and get paid for days in space for having the right compartments in your shuttle or your ship. So it's just really lots of neat things to keep an eye on, and you really feel like you're engaged the whole time, because you're like planning out what's the best ship, what's the next best piece to add to my ship, and just the flavor and just the whole presentation of this game, even in prototype form, is fantastic. Again, I like big chunky pieces in games. That tactile experience just adds that much more, and you have to keep an eye on your company goals, moving up those progress tracks to get into the game and total up all your points. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure that I appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.